Welcome to the greatest thing, most exciting thing since Kevin Meow's first career Bowdoin touchdown. Mike and Wiley in the morning.
I'm Wiley.
And I'm Mikey.
And this is your all Bowdoin sports show here on WBOR and also on GoUBears.com under the Athletics podcast.
A weekly Tuesday special.
So thank you all for listening to us on this this gorgeous Maine afternoon now.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
We have 3 special guests today.
3 special guests. We got Coach Dave Caputi, head coach of the Bowdoin Football Polar Bears. We have Jeff Ward.
You can't say the Bowdoin Football Polar Bears.
It's one of my new favorite sayings.
The only person who's allowed to do that is Boomer from ESPN. And he's the only one who can call them the Football Giants.
As I was saying, the Bowdoin Football Polar Bears.
Oh, God.
Then we have athletic director Jeff Ward in studio. And then we have sophomore field hockey sensation Molly Baduda at 12:40.
What a show lined up.
What a show is on the way.
So in the meantime, we'll bring you around the wide world of Bowdoin sports and talk about some scores from the past week.
It was a big weekend here. Bowdoin's homecoming weekend.
Wait, you said Kobe Horowitz?
Kobe Horowitz. Did I say Kobe Horowitz?
I thought you said Kobe Horowitz.
I must have said Kobe Horowitz because Kobe Horowitz won the Maine State Championships in cross country this
That
weekend.
makes him.
The NESCAC Men's Cross Country Performer of the Week.
That's pretty impressive.
Phone, this is the radio show. Good job, guys. Keep it up.
I'm speaking the microphone. Mine was too low. So he won. He's the fastest person in Maine. How cool is that? How cool is that?
I wouldn't say he's the largest person.
That's
said
not
fastest.
remotely what we said.
Said
I think
fastest.
it's his headphones. I think I need an ophthalmologist.
An ophthalmologist. No one knows what that means.
An eye doctor.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in your humor,
Yeah.
but you're really swinging and missing right now. We got to get you back on track. Anyway,
At that cross country meet, it was the New England, it was the NESCAC Championships at Amherst. Apparently, it was a pretty difficult course. The Bowdoin team itself didn't do as well as they had hoped. I think they lost to Bates, but Kobe took the victory all to himself. So great work, Kobe, our roommate. So there you go. That's cross country stuff. We had a bunch of other fun games over the weekend.
in men's soccer, Amherst beat Bowdoin 2-1. Women's soccer, Amherst beat Bowdoin 2-1. Same score right there. There are a couple of great field hockey games over the weekend. We had Bowdoin over Amherst. Bowdoin over number 8th ranked Amherst. 2-1. Bowdoin is 3rd in the country. Amherst is 8th. On a penalty stroke by Katie Riley towards the end of that game. Saturday finals, women's soccer beat Hamilton 2-0. Bowdoin football beat Hamilton 20-7. Bowdoin soccer, men's soccer tied with Hamilton 0-0. And with the general thread of the day, Bowdoin field hockey beat Hamilton 6-0. Overall,
6-0. That's huge.
Overall, with the Hamilton weekend here at Bowdoin went a solid 3-0-1 over the old Continentals. So a nice performance by the Polar Bears, and also, yes, Hamilton's a Continental.
Great mascot.
What is a Continental?
And women's volleyball took on Amherst at Colby in a tournament, and they won 3-1. So once again, the women's volleyball team continues to dominate the NESCAC and are well on their way to hopefully hosting the NESCAC championships here at Bowdoin.
No, they are undefeated at home this year. They're undefeated at home since 2007. I think it's a 33-game winning streak. Yeah, 33 match. I think they're something like 20-1 on the year.
So they're 18-1 on the season, 8-0 in the conference, and they've won 17 straight games.
So they're the top-ranked team in the conference right now.
Correct.
They'll be tough to beat. A lot of talent on that team. There was a nice article about them in the Orient this week.
And that's
It's a good read for those of you who get the
Bowdoin Orient plug right now.
There we go.
How hard it is for me to just like sports song.
The sports songs are key.
This is a sports
song.
specific show, Matthew.
If anybody watched SportsCenter on, it must have been last Saturday morning.
It was last Sunday morning, actually.
Last Sunday morning. You were in for a treat.
Quite the treat, quite the surprise for me waking up woke up around 10 in the morning as a usual routine, and I put on SportsCenter. And I'm sitting there drinking my Sunday morning coffee, and suddenly before I know it, we get to number 4 on the SportsCenter top 10.
Keep talking.
And What do we have there, Mikey?
We have a Bowdoin play on SportsCenter. This was who was it?
This was
it
against
Cleary?
Tufts. This was Tufts. This is Bowdoin Tufts.
Was it Joey Cleary?
Yes, it was. Joey Cleary took the interception return, 99 yards for the touchdown, the longest play in Bowdoin football history.
And
So
then,
you think, oh wow, this is exciting for Bowdoin. Play number 4, and then we got to number 3.
this was this is unbelievable. This is absolutely unbelievable.
I think it's only fair that Joey Cleary and Griff Carter are both sophomores, and I guess they have a little friendly competition on the team. And Cardew, plain and simple, outdid Cleary and broke his record in the exact same game with a 100-yard interception return for a touchdown of his own.
I mean, how cool is that? I mean, usually this is unusual, not only for Bowdoin. All right, I didn't think Bowdoin would ever get on SportsCenter. D3 schools, you don't see any D3 plays making SportsCenter's top 10 playlist. They didn't just give us the 4th spot. They gave us 3rd and 4th. For those of you who are not regular SportsCenter viewers, usually that'd be like 5. That'd be play number 5 twice.
The only time a non-professional team gets top 10 as number 1 is it's like a half-court shot.
Right. It's
High school. Nobody ever gets 3 and 4 in a non-professional.
Yeah, usually when 2 big plays happen in the same game, they combine it into one play.
Yeah.
Here I am analyzing SportsCenter top plays.
It was
That's the most fun analysis you can make.
This is a pretty awesome performance by Cleary and
Unprecedented.
Carter because they just shattered NESCAC records right there. First time in the history of NESCAC football that 2 interceptions have returned for 99+ yards for touchdowns.
So what was the final score of that game? Wiley was at that game, writing
Great game.
for his.
Bowdoin pulled out their first win of the season against Tufts. An overall great game, highlighted by Cardew and Cleary's performances. The defense played at a high level, especially the front 7 against the run. Donorama ran the ball very well. His second 100-yard game of the season. It's hard not to like the first one. The first one's always great, and it's nice when it's a nice dominating victory against Tufts.
And the momentum carried over into the next week.
Final score of that game was 27-6. I forgot to mention that.
Thank you. The momentum carried over into next week when they played Hamilton in the big homecoming matchup.
Which, it's just speaking of Hamilton, we have athletic director Jeff Ward walking in right now, and we can talk to him more about his opinions of that football game. As we were saying with Hamilton, Bowdoin beat Hamilton 20-7 on homecoming. Nice running attack of Donorama and Kevin Meow led the charge. And Bowdoin moves to 2-2 in the season on to Trinity next Saturday in Connecticut.
We'll give him a.
All right.
Special guest.
It's a time. It's a time for our first special guest.
How
I think it
exciting
is.
this?
Very exciting. Now joining us in studio, athletic director Mr. Jeff Ward. Mr. Ward, the seat is all yours right here.
Okay.
You get a lot of wires going on.
Okay. This is like when I'm plugging in at night to charge up my iPhone. Okay. And there we go.
Perfect.
This is going to go over you. Perfect. Oh, look at that.
Lovely. So we
Did
have.
it work? Yeah. Okay.
We have a couple questions for you today.
Okay.
We've quite the number.
Wiley's got the first question. He's excited to ask this one.
I guess.
Before we start, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. It's a beautiful day.
My first question for you is, who do you think is the best athlete you've seen in your very long tenure here at Bowdoin as the athletic director? If you had to highlight one, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot with that because there have been a lot of great players here at Bowdoin.
Ooh, that's a good question. The best athlete.
Wiley's hoping you say his dad.
I never saw his
never
dad
saw
play.
him.
I haven't been here that long. So maybe Justine Portovelis on the women's basketball team.
Was she on the team that was in the elite 8 in the Final Four back?
She was, but she was young on that team. So I don't think she was a starter on that team. Although one of the problems, if you're here as long as I am, is that things compress a little bit. But I always thought that Justine could have played several sports and been really, really good. She would have been an unbelievable goalie in soccer. You know, and she, so that would be that she would be one candidate. Let me think who else. Ricky LeClaire would definitely be up there. You know, he was a great football and baseball player. Travis Cummings would probably be up there. He was a really great athlete who was here when I was early on. So
Very nice.
So being athletic director, you get to see all these different sports. You know, you're dealing with all these different programs. What's one sport or program that before becoming athletic director, maybe you didn't really have an interest in this sport? What's one sport that surprised you as something that's really interesting, to follow?
So I've always been a sports fan. So I've always, and I've been lucky. I've been at places where there were lots of sports, and so I get to enjoy them. I would say that my appreciation of I liked volleyball, but my appreciation has grown, and in a different way. Well, because like now, the emotional swings in volleyball play on my heart, so I love that.
Of course.
And then I always knew Nordic skiers worked hard. I didn't quite know how hard they worked. It's like they it's crazy how much they train. So
how is that team supposed to be this year? They looking
good Nordic skiing.
Yeah,
I think that it wouldn't surprise me. You know, they have crept. They've been creeping up every year a little bit closer towards the top of the pack. I wouldn't surprise me for them to take another step or two. It's Nordic skiing it's in one sense it's a small world, but in another sense because of that, UNH and Vermont are are people that we compete against all the time. So it's tough.
Tough to make up any ground on the
it is.
big powers.
It is. Yeah. So.
Since we're talking generally about the athletic program, going forward, is there one really big thing you want to, I guess, bring to the athletic program that'll make a big difference? I guess in terms of maybe a new field or a new facility, or what is something you think that Bowdoin Athletics really needs to sort of make them even better than they are today?
I think we've made unbelievable strides in facilities in the last 5 years. The college has been really supportive. I mean, the Buck Center and the Buck Center and Watson are just really cool, and I'm really proud of both of them. I think when I think about facilities going forward, the only place where I think it's not a big thing for the community, but I think it's a huge thing for the students who play those sports. Not having dugouts in baseball and softball is the only place where I think we're what I would call deficient. And then the next thing is I'd love to have lights on a grass field so we could play some night soccer games, because I think that would be really fun.
That'd be really cool.
That would be. Yeah. It's something no team in the NESCAC can offer.
Right, and I think it's. I remember from my days at Brown, we played some. But I think Friday night soccer games would be like Friday night soccer or basketball and hockey games, and I think people would love them. And then I think that we're not very far away from the renovation of Whittier Field, and I think Whittier is beautiful, and so it'll be a challenge when we renovate it to make sure that we don't lose that feeling. But I also think it'll be an opportunity to do some pretty cool things. So maybe put another artificial field in. That'll be a big question when we do that.
So we have to compete in the NESCAC with some big-time schools, Williams and Amherst being two big examples. And in competing with those schools, what is one disadvantage, or what are the ways that Bowdoin sort of compensates for the fact that it's so academically focused and that all the athletes are so focused on their studies? Does it really make life difficult as an athletic director?
Well, I think that is a difficulty that I gladly take. Okay, because it means that we get really special people. All right, and honestly, there, Williams and Amherst and Middlebury, along with Bowdoin, are the 4 strongest schools academically in NESCAC, the tradition and reputation of those 4 schools. So the biggest challenge for us is that by perception, if you think of an academic sort of food chain, Williams and Amherst are a little bit higher than us. They are a little bit higher than us in U.S. News and World Report. So that when people are initially looking at schools and they are looking at, for a place where they can get everything that they want, great academics and great athletics,
Right.
they probably start out with a little bit of an advantage. I think our advantage is just the culture and the feel of this place, the fact, the strength of the community, the fact, that this is, I say to people all the time, I've been at really good places, but this is the best place that I've ever been, where the community is really the strongest that I've ever been. And, are we perfect? No, but it's this is a good place.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Last spring, the women's lacrosse team surprised a lot of people by going all the way to the Final Four, and losing in the national championship game. Do you think that there is one team this year in the winter of the spring that's going to surprise a lot of people with their performance?
Ooh, surprise people, or might go that far?
Maybe
Either one.
Yeah, either one, or
Okay.
maybe both.
I think both basketball teams and both ice hockey teams this winter will be very, very strong. Okay. I don't think that surprises anybody. It wouldn't surprise me if the women's ice hockey team and the men's basketball team were somewhat better than people think that they are today. Okay, or that they might do better than people are perceiving. So, and I think in the spring, I think that the team that maybe might take the next leap into sort of the national standings would be I think the baseball team has, in some senses, been a little unlucky in the playoffs in the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the issues last year.
Well, it's that's sports. That
Unfortunately, that is sports.
Yeah, but I feel like they have good karma right now. So
Hopefully, they can cash in on that
Yeah.
this season for Mike Conley and his boys.
yeah.
A little fun wrap-up question. What's one perk of being athletic director that most of us wouldn't realize is really, really cool about your job?
Well, half my wardrobe says Bowdoin on it. Okay, so and occasionally I get invited to play at some really nice golf courses, which I'm a lousy golfer, but I love to play, and so that has been a little treat from time to time.
Very cool.
What's the best golf course you've ever played on?
Oh, the hardest I've ever played on is one. It's called the Country Club of New England, and it's in just outside of Portsmouth. And the first time I played it, which was about 8 years ago, and I had just sort of started playing, and I lost 19 balls in 18 holes, and it was ridiculous. And I played it this year, and I only lost 4 balls, and so I thought I've
there you go.
improved a lot.
Yeah, big
So,
improvement in 8 years. That's great.
Yeah. So, great.
Well, Mr. Ward, thank you so much for joining us in studio. We really appreciate it.
My
And
pleasure.
thanks for shedding some light on the inside jobs of being an athletic director and the Bowdoin sports program now and in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good.
Welcome back to Mike and Wiley Morning, where we have a special guest in the studio.
We have a weekly guest in studio, Mr. Dave Caputi, head coach of the Bowdoin Polar Bears. I know Mikey does not want me to say Bowdoin football Polar Bears again.
Because we're all polar bears.
We're all Polar Bears.
Polar
but
bears.
there's something about the phrase Bowdoin football Polar Bears that I really enjoy. Coach, congrats on the second win of the season this Saturday against Hamilton, 20-7. A great overall team performance. I guess highlighted by the play of a two-headed rushing attack of Zach Donorama and Kevin Miao, and the play of the front seven and the secondary, for that matter, against the run, holding Hamilton to negative 34 yards of total run offense.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We were very pleased with the outcome. I think there were a lot of good things, and probably the most important thing was, as a football coach, do we get better each week? And I felt like that's, we can talk to the football team. We got better this week, so that was a good win, a good effort.
A big moment of the game was when Grant White went down with it's confirmed to be a separated shoulder. Is that correct? Or a dislocated shoulder?
I think FERPA and HIPAA regulations prevent me from.
That's right. Either way, Grant suffered a shoulder injury. His status going forward is unknown, but it looks like your I know you don't want me to say it, but your son, Mac Caputi, will be leading the Polar Bears into Trinity. What did you think about Mac's performance? He was put in a really tough situation, being the third-string quarterback throughout camp and throughout the beginning of the season, having to come in there and help lead Bowdoin to a victory over Hamilton.
Yeah, he did. I was proud of his efforts coming in and doing what he did. I thought he responded well. I also thought the entire football team responded well. I think there was a different level of emotion and reaction from the football team when Grant went down, and I think that having been in this situation before, an injured quarterback can be a rallying point for a team. For the offensive line realizes, hey, we got to step up our performance. Right. The tailbacks run a little harder. Defense plays a little bit more inspired. And that's what good football teams do. That's what mature football teams do. And I thought the entire team did a real good job of that. And the freshman quarterback was one of those guys on that team that did that. So, yeah. So I was pleased with what he did.
So. Now, we're at the third-string quarterback right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a fourth-string quarterback? Not that I want to jinx anything.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, we have plans, and there's always a contingency plan.
How far down the depth chart does the coaching staff have to plan, not just a quarterback, but at all the positions?
You always have to have somebody ready to go. And unfortunately, ask the Oakland Raiders, I guess, right? They just traded for Carson Palmer, right?
It was quite the trade, too. It was a first-round pick and a second-round pick, which might become a first.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, I know. So, unfortunately, there is not a waiver wire nor or trading. You can trade in NESCAC, but because of that in college football, you end up dealing with that as you go along. But we lost two really good guys. We have to have a third guy step in and rise to the challenge.
That's the second week in a row this thing's been buzzing behind me.
Yeah. Maybe you lean back there, or.
Oh, anyway, yeah. Moving. We'll ignore the emergency machine going off, and let's talk about Peter Trout, because he really had a huge game, and so far this season, it's. I don't want to say it's been marked by the play of sophomores and freshmen, but because everyone on the team has a huge role. But the big plays have really come by sophomores like Griff Carter, Joey Cleary, and it was great to see a senior really make a huge contribution with Peter's 3 sacks.
Yeah, and I think whenever an individual player makes a big play and there are certain statistics and there are certain plays that become a little bit more noteworthy. A sack is certainly one of them, but oftentimes it is the result of a lot of other guys making great plays that you just don't quite recognize. And I think in Peter's case, two things. One is I think he was a beneficiary of some great team defense when guys did a really, really good job. And the second thing, I think he's benefited from just being a good, hard-nosed, persistent, determined kid who's overcome some varying injuries in his career. And you see the guy, and he walks in here, he looks like he should be on the cross-country team sometimes.
He's the skinniest lineman I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. And he's pretty mild-mannered and soft-spoken, but he's got some good intensity, and he's a good, productive football player. And we have other guys. Dan Evans is another guy who's like that too. Dan is a very, very good football player, and he's another guy who he is not blessed with a great build, but very, very productive, just a real good football player. So I think Peter was one of those guys who has done it. I think Dan has overcome some injuries this year, and he's battled back to get himself on the field, and he made us, he's another guy who battled to get back on the field and made us better.
A big part of the game on Saturday was the special teams contributions.
Yeah.
Not only by the list goes on Jimmy Garvey kicking field goals and extra points, Bo Breton punting, Pat Noon had two huge punt returns, one in the punt return game, and the other in the kick return game. overall, I mean, what do you think about that special teams performance? Because
That was very good. I mean, that was probably one of the better games better overall games on many levels and special teams that we've had in a number of years. When I went back and looked at it, I think Bo punted 6 times. The average starting field position after each of those punts was the 15-yard line. Hamilton's average starting field position, I think, was at the 22 or 23-yard line. We averaged starting field position at about the 44 or 45, I forget it was. But every drive we started was about 20 yards closer to scoring opportunity and or pin those guys down. So when you have 10, 11, 12 possessions in a game, that's the equivalent of having a 250-yard rusher. You start the game with a 250-yard rusher. And that's what was really important. I mean, and it makes, and it's one of those, a good football team is something where every unit makes every other unit better. That the kicking, punting the ball and having it down on the 2 or 3 yard line makes the defense better. And in turn, if the defense gives up one first down and then you force a punt, then all of a sudden the offense takes the ball in the plus territory, and then every unit makes every unit better. And those are some of the different things that we just need to keep preaching. And our guys have really bought into playing a good brand of team football.
So coming up next week, we've got a really tough game against Trinity.
Yes.
Whose defense, the run defense especially, is notoriously tough in the NESCAC. So heading into this game, how much does I guess in general, how much does a football practice change week to week based on the opponent? Is it more like, say, in for example, in other sports, maybe baseball, there's not so much focus on the opponent rather than yourself. You improve your team as a team. Is there a lot in the Bowdoin football program focused on the week-to-week matchup?
I think that the focus on the week-to-week matchup is what you do within the practice, but how you practice, I don't think changes. I mean, our Tuesday practice schedule is going to be the exact same as our Tuesday practice schedule from last week. Occasionally, there will be a faculty member will have an exam or a study session that throws a hiccup in. There's a hiccup in there. So unfortunately, classes are part of the process. So we have to juggle our practice schedule maybe a little bit, but the emphasis within some of those practice periods changes a little bit. I think Trinity is very, very good. Has always been very good. They have very good players, incredibly well coached, very disciplined, and that has been their MO in the league for a number of years. And in the past, we have spread things out and tried to throw the football and done more of that. We've basically had to change what our style of football, which is a little bit mirrors theirs at the moment, and just a matter of playing good team defense, running the football effectively, and depending on the kicking game. So we're going to do the same things we do. How we adjust to it and do it each week is dependent upon what our strengths are, where our matchups are. What was a strength last week may not be a strength this week. What was a weakness last week may shift as players change, opponents change, weather, practice, injuries, all those different things all contribute to that. So I think the one thing we need to be able to control is what we do, and can we be efficient and make best use of our practice time and how it applies to what we want to do in a game.
On Saturday, Tufts took on Trinity, and they played Trinity really, really hard, ultimately losing 9-0. Yeah. A great defensive performance by the Jumbos. Is there anything you can take from what Tufts did and use it against Trinity for a second straight week?
I think there's some things of what Tufts did. I thought Tufts had a really good plan of what they did to stop Trinity. I also think Trinity is one of those teams that once they got up 9-0 and they felt like they were 2 scores ahead, they were not going to do anything to, they weren't going to throw the ball that much. They weren't going to throw any complete passes and stop the clock. They just really pounded the football and physically physically went after Tufts. And Tufts was trying to score. But it was, I think there were some lessons that we can take out of it. I don't think Tufts did anything fancy. They put their guys in some good positions, and then they and their kids made plays. And I thought that was. I thought Tufts played disciplined football, and I would say inspired football in that game.
A big part of what makes Trinity great is their run defense, as Mike mentioned a second ago. And Bowdoin's going with Mack, who's a freshman quarterback with not a ton of experience. I mean, a big part of what Bowdoin's going to do is run the ball, but with Trinity being so good against the run, I think they're giving up like 1.1 yards a carry, which is unprecedented in football. I mean, do you ever consider shying away from the run and seeing if Mack can make something happen with his arm, or?
In order to attack them, you cannot be. Anytime a team goes into a game, it's very rare that any matchup allows you to be one-dimensional. You have to keep an opponent off balance. I mean, it's. I think one of they had Peter King's interview with, I think it was Sean Payton over the summer. What's one word? What do you try to do offensively and defensively? It's confusion. You're trying. The opposing coaches are trying to confuse the defense, and the defensive coaches are trying to confuse the quarterback. And I think that's what in order for us to be successful, we're going to have to keep. Trinity off balance. If we were going to go up and say, all right, you're going up against a team that's very, very good against the run, and you say, we need to try to run the football, but we also have to make sure that we're balanced and we keep them off balance as well.
Well, Coach, thank you for joining us. Best of luck this Saturday in Connecticut. Hopefully you'll shock the NESCAC world. Yeah. It won't be a big surprise to us here, but to people on the outside looking in, it might be. But go down to Trinity and kick those Bantam butts.
Okay. Thank you,
Coach,
guys.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
What a great interview with Coach Caputi, as always. He is he's not only a great football coach, but a great man. So always fun to have him here in studio for his weekly interview. Mikey, what do you have up on your what are we talking about next? What do you have up on your screen right there?
Well, we have we got a couple of specific athletes we will probably want to mention. Bowdoin athletes this year or today, I guess. We have one athlete, Michaela Coleman. Both field hockey. She plays both field hockey and ice hockey for the Bowdoin Polar Bears. That's what we're called. She was nominated for NCAA Woman of the Year. There are the nine women get this nomination every year.
So she's in the top 9 currently, correct?
Yeah, she's one of the candidates. She's a neuroscience major. There's an interview of her. There's a 1 minute long interview up on the NCAA YouTube page. No, we won't watch it. So guys, if you want to check that out, it's on the NCAA. It's on YouTube. NCAA Woman of the Year. So that's really, really cool stuff. Bowdoin getting some national recognition. And Wiley, you interviewed somebody.
Yes, I did. I emailed Miss Ellery Gould. This week she was named the NESCAC Player of the Week. And not only is she a NESCAC Player of the Week, but she's also Bowdoin's all-time leading point scorer with 95. She added to that with her 3 goals and 2 assists for over the weekend for Bowdoin. About a week ago, Ellery broke that record and became Bowdoin's all-time leading goal scorer. So congrats to Ellery. She's a great person, and I could not be happier for anyone to be in the Bowdoin record books as Ellery is now. So. Overall, this is a fantastic homecoming weekend for Bowdoin sports.
Oh yeah,
it really was.
Oh yeah,
it really was. Minus a couple losses for men's soccer and women's soccer combined. Women's soccer went 2-1 on the weekend. Men's soccer had a tie against I guess it was Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken. So just a great Bowdoin sports weekend. There you have it. Thanks for listening here on WBRR. We'll see you guys on Thursday morning, 8 to 9, or for more professional sports look. Professional sports look. I got marbles in my mouth.
I say.
And then on Tuesday, the same time, 12 to 1, to talk your Bowdoin sports.
We'll probably have Coach Caputi.
Coach Caputi will be back.
If the entire first 10 minutes of the show is drowned out by music, I apologize. We'll have it fixed for the
We'll figure it out for the podcast.
We'll figure it out. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. I'm Wiley.
I'm Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.